Like fresh colours, warm and cool feedback from 3 peers and the AT1 marker have helped me better paint the picture of Project Selfie Portrait. There was praise for some aspects and query on others. The program contains alignment with the elaborations from the curriculum strands and with high-impact teaching strategies. Included are assessment of prior knowledge through entry tasks, peer critique and reflection practice as part of the assessment process. There are strengths in the demonstration of live drawing skills, there are exit tasks and a final folio presentation, but insufficient reference to academic literature. I'd stood on the stanchions of pedagogical theory without acknowledging them. Reflection has pushed me to read more, to ensure I'm not passing over gaps in my knowledge, and in particular on formulating a rubric. And another big missing point, one also pointed out by a peer, showing the works, set up and promoting of an exhibition is the obvious full circle in an experiential learning cycle. I felt that time frame factors restricted that opportunity and I decided to omit it. If I have, however, no fewer than 8 weeks in this program, an exhibition would be the master stroke. The students get the chance to have their work celebrated and make a nod towards later years' units in art making and exhibiting. The program has been deemed to be engaging. The lesson outlines clear and well considered. A range of self, peer and teacher assessment points are made available. While I've made mention of introducing the purpose of the unit, introducing the curriculum study design with view to elaboration on specific explicit goals, peers suggest this could have reference to rubrics. The summative assessment component was questioned. In wrapping up assessment with a student one-to-one folio review, how will I use reference to a rubric? I would like to have a strong basis for summative assessment in the end, and a rubric itself would be a teaching tool. For a student to know criteria they will be assessed on will assist their ability to succeed, give them a structure for self-assessment. I have sought ways to make constructive alignment of tasks and the intended learning outcomes in order to design the missing rubric. I've taken a deep dive into the DET website, and while I'm finding some clues in the work of Rose Barron, the assessment of a student's response to subjective and emotive components of the program is still blurry. Self-assessment of their work might be prompted by questions such as these. Did I learn about observational drawing techniques? Did I learn about representing moods and emotions from the self-portraits we studied? Did I successfully apply art principles such as line, tone, colour and shade to my self-portrait? And did I express the message I wanted in my self-portrait? The AT1 marker feedback states that I have alluded to behaviour management but not explicitly stated any strategy. While using differentiation and self-led inquiry to offer choices, I've made assumptions about engagement and that student responses to the task will be positive. A point in agreement with peers is that the potential is present for the self-portrait examination of identity to be very confronting. AITSL Safety Standards Professional Practice 4.1 begins with creating a safe, inclusive environment. This would begin with a statement of expectations on respectful interactions and offering approachable, achievable, differentiated tasks. What to do for the student with a level of social anxiety for whom the exposure represented by the self-portrait task and associated emotions is overwhelming. Firstly, make it the second in a series of visual arts units. An earlier assignment included a lesson plan around observational drawing of a simple still life. Knowledge gained via the earlier and less pointy classes would help prepare differentiated versions of the lesson. Reflection has pressed me to decide on differentiated tasks and multiple exposure sources. half drawing, half photo split portraits, internet-sourced video instruction, and further self-made instructional videos. So I undertook some of the tasks I had visualised and devised a process for a more structured result. I had delivered a lesson on clay modelling for middle years, while on placement at an all-boys Catholic school, the cohort for whose selfie portrait is intended. The mentor teacher's feedback pointed to my strengths on behaviour management. I had prior knowledge from observation, and I had discussed strategy around a certain student with the teacher and met the support worker. I undertook the ensuing lesson with some task differentiation ready. I tried to carry through flat spots in engagement during practice time by circulating with encouragement and applying tips according to student needs. I sat between bickering students and redirected them positively. I engaged in practices long established in my education support experience, and yet I did not write up these as behaviour management strategies in my program template. The opportunity to include my own experience as guide to further enhance the program's strengths, however, remains. I have reflected and continued to strengthen my knowledge of school-wide positive behaviour strategies, SWPBS. There are team systems to enable some preemptive strategy for known behaviour issues. Ash and Clayton write that the value of experience is not fully realised without reflection. The theory of the zone of proximal development applies socially and technically. To model the social interactions expected to be engaged in is to be Vygotsky's knowledgeable other. Supportive peer critique and cooperative learning are two of the big paintbrushes in pedagogy here. Peer feedback received supports the strategy of timed breaks and gallery walks as a way of breaking up long stretches of time dedicated to the observational drawing task. The lesson outline, I quote, "Timed breaks will allow students to leave their drawing stations to circulate and see other student work in progress. The aim is to make the product less of a solo effort and more about group learning through sharing." Feedback also supported the introductory entry task, a way to gain a sound basis for differentiation from the outset, a considered combination of directive teaching, guided research, self-led inquiry and reflection with support. I want to understand something of the social sophistication of the students as early as possible. Are they the right cohort for some of the cited examples of famous artists' work? Frida Kahlo was badly injured. She wore a spine brace and had 22 major surgeries. Her work centres on this and some very grown-up concepts. Based on my placement experience, I'll take care to discern if these artists' real-life stories could be distressing or just go over the top of their young heads, and to see where the students are at with social issues and their own self-identity. Take some clues from the work of Rose Barron, an American teacher and researcher who made self-portrait programs for diverse students in New York. In seeking to extend the prospects for some informal data gathering, I visualise a second untrained drawing tasks for a heads-up in anticipation of later tasks. Students illustrate themselves in some personally meaningful context. It can be as revealing or coded or as fun or exaggerated as you wish. Barron asks questions such as this: where are you from? What is your parents' culture? Who are you in relationship to your family? What are your fears? How do you fit in with society? What do you like to do? What do you think about? What do you look like? What makes you happy, sad, or mad? Who is the person deep inside of you that nobody sees? Who is the person that everybody sees? What do you think your future might be? What are your dreams? Project Selfie Portrait hopes to instill a sense of respect and confidence in art practice, both classical and ICT based, as well as self-awareness of personal and social identity. Working with a cohort who may not consider themselves to be artistic, behaviour management questions have led to reflection. Using alternative and simplified tasks and a fair set of expectations around respectful sharing, I hope to make the art room a safe place for students, allow them to feel creative and inspired to make their own selfie portraits.